Uh, yeah, so in this session, what we are going to talk about is what are the elements we use when we are writing React. What are the, say for example, right now, when you start writing React, all you try to do is to create React app and create a basic boilerplate and start writing components, right? That is what you have been doing till now. So in this lecture, we are just trying to understand what are the components that create React app. Like what are the elements behind the scene that works for us, right? So to understand it, let's just try to understand the first thing that is known as modules. To understand modules, let's just try to understand how do we create application. So whenever we are creating any kind of application, the way we start is like, we know it's very simple, right? Like we just start with like, when you're creating any kind of application, you just need to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's all, right? Like that's what we need to write because browser just understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Nothing else they understand. So writing application like this feels so easy, right? Like you can just go ahead, create an HTML page. Like so for example, here I can just go ahead and create a index.html page. And here I can just write like basic boilerplate, whatever I want to. Here, if I want to write CSS, I'll just say style. And here I can start writing CSS. Similarly, I can just say script and I can start writing JavaScript. So you can understand that when we are actually sending anything to the browser, we just need to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And this is how we write it. It's so simple. Like this is CSS, this whole thing is HTML, and this is JavaScript. But you know what, like in real world application, when we start making, we never write just HTML, just CSS, or just JavaScript, do we? Right? Like how many of you, like right now, when you're working on the blog application or anything like that, are you working on these things, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? You do, but like what you do is like you replace them with something else. That's what you generally do. Okay. So think about it. What are the things we replace it with? So generally, when you were making, you remember to-do list or something in DOM, you used to write HTML, but now you don't write HTML. What do you write? You write something like React. So your HTML is basically, you can think you can just replace it with writing HTML. I know at the end of the day, you're writing HTML, but you write React, and that React is what HTML it gives you. Similarly for CSS, do you write just CSS or sometimes you also start writing SCSS? That is another thing. So you write SCSS. In JavaScript, you can also write something like TypeScript, or you can write React itself, right? Like, so you can write, so here I can just copy the same thing for JavaScript also, because HTML is just a part of something like, you can just say JSX, right? So using JSX, you write HTML. Then whenever you need to write JavaScript, you write it using React. Here, when you write to CSS, you write it using like this. Later on, as soon as you go ahead, you start building your application, you start introducing new things into your application. What are those things? Those things can be anything. Like, say, for example, what if I want to use some kind of like, I don't know, maybe some kind of like library from outside, like Lodash, or maybe Date FNS, or maybe something like database or Mongo or Prisma or something. Look, so many database that you want. Maybe you start using those libraries or something. So you start using different tools and so many other things. So in that way, what happens is, in the starting, we were talking about while creating an application, you need to just write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, you see that it is not just HTML and CSS and JavaScript. It has React, it has SCSS, it has TypeScript, it has Lodash, it has DetFNS, SCSS, JSX, so many other things it has. So that is where like we start thinking about managing all these things becomes a problem, right? That is, it becomes a problem. So how do we fix that problem? So generally, like the way we started fixing this problem is by using some kind of like package module or something like that. Everybody here knows something about NPM, Node Package Manager. Because we are writing Node application here, we will talk about NPM. So here, the first thing we are going to do is like just create a basic boilerplate for Node using npm. Okay, so I'm just going to say npm init. And if you just say init, you'll just have to press enter multiple times, and it will just create a file for you. And that file is known as package.json file. If you look at this file, you'll see that it has one main thing. One of the most important thing here is script. And the script has some name, and based on that, it will do something. Here, whenever you want to add any packages, something like Lodash, you can just say npm install Lodash. If you press enter, what will happen? It will install a package, put it into node modules, and put it as a dependency here. So now what is happening is, whenever you want to use any external packages, you can do it like this. So this is one of the problem that I was facing. And the way we fix this problem is by using npm. So npm is all well and good. Now going to the next thing is like, once again, you'll understand some other things also. One of the other thing that comes with this problem also is like, how many of you understand browser compatibility? All of you understand? Anybody who understands browser compatibility?
Yes.
You understand, right? Like, so browser compatibility is not every version of JavaScript works in every browser that people uses, because there's so many browser in the world people uses, right? Like Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Opera, Safari, and Internet Explorer, right? Like, so all the browser doesn't run on the latest JavaScript engine, right? And because of that, what happens is like, we have a website called caniuse.com. What it does, like, it does that whatever feature of HTML, CSS, or JavaScript that you can use in certain browsers. So for example, what if I want to use Await? What are the browsers in which like Await is like, you can use Await directly? So that is like, okay, Internet Explorer, you cannot use it, like say 6 to 10 or 11, you cannot use it. Edge, you cannot use it when it is like 12 to 13, but you can use it from 14 to 92. So can you see, like, so there are many other problems that you have to deal with when you're writing real world application. So it is not just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You have to take care of React, you have to take care of SCSS, TypeScript, multiple dependencies, and also the compatibility issue you have to take care of. So like, to do these things, like if you want to do it manually, it will become so much of task. Like, you have to manage this part, you have to manage this part, this, all of it. At the end, you also have to manage the compatibility issue. And that is a huge problem. And I've not even like listed most of the things that actually people have problem with. Like, in future, you will start using some images. Okay, then you will get to know that images, oh, I need to optimize the images. I need to reduce the size of the images. I need to convert the extension of the images. Maybe it is PNG all the time, but I want to use JPEG or something. So like, these are the things that the problem that happens when you start using real world application. And doing all these things individually will become a huge problem. So how do you fix this problem? The other problem also happens is like, when you start using like the modules that we installed here. So for example, I installed a module called Lodash. What if I want to create a file here called, let's create a folders. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and say src, I'll just call it index.js, and here I'm just going to say import, I don't know, Lodash from Lodash. So if I want to use Lodash, I can just use it like this here. So and I can import it like this, but will it work or not is the problem. So right now, what if I want to use this JavaScript file in our HTML? So how will I use it? I'll just create a basic this thing, and here all I have to do is to use a script tag, and here in the src we'll have to just go into src index. So this is how I linked my SCSS file, like my JavaScript file. What if I want to like say something like, just say console log? Right now, let's just say console.log, and I'll just say hello world. And now I just want to open this into browser and see like if it is working or not, because right now it is just JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So I'll open this here. And now when you open console, you'll see the hello world message. What if I want to use the packages that I've installed? I've installed a package known as load as. What if I want to use it? So for that, again, I'll just go ahead and say import load as from load as. So I installed it. What if I want to use it? So load as dot, let us use any function from it. So load as docs. I'll just use one of the function from here. Let's just use it chunk. So import, and here I'll just say load as dot chunk. I'll pass an array 1, 2, 3, 4, and here I'll just not pass anything. So it will just give me a chunk of it. So similarly, I can just be like console.log and put it here. Like, so what I did here, I'm using external package because we are using npm here, and I can import it here. Now, what happens when we refresh the page here? As soon as you refresh the page, one of the error that we can see here is cannot use import statement outside a module. So it means that you cannot use it like this, the way we are using it. It is not a module. That is what they're trying to do. So how do we fix this problem? The way we can fix this problem now is like, say, normally it will not support it. We will have to create a module. And we will also in future need to have multiple JavaScript files. How do you fix those all problems? So right now, what I have done is I've just listed all the problems that we generally face when we start writing application. The problem included something like JSX, load as, SCSS, date FNS, TypeScript, images, React. And later on, we got to understand like browser compatibility issue, modules, and so many other things. So these are the problems that we generally see, and we try to fix those problems. So everybody here understood the problem that the tools that we are going to learn today is going to fix. These are the problems that the tools we are going to use today is going to fix. Everybody understood the problem statement properly? If you have any question regarding the problem statement, please go ahead. So everybody understood the problem statement here?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So we understood the problem statement. Now let me just introduce solution to you. What is the solution right now? So the solution is Webpack. Webpack is a module bundler. So what it does actually. So you can think about the problem that we were talking about. Those problems like having multiple JavaScript file, having SCSS file, having PNG, JPEG, multiple SCSS file, having some other extension file. So here you have multiple assets that you need. Bundler is a tool, or Webpack is a tool that is bundler that takes all of this different stuff, process it inside this, and at the end gives you something that the browser supports. What are the things that browser supports? It supports CSS. It supports JavaScript. Even though you're writing CJS, it is giving you JS. Even though you're writing JSX, it will give you JS. Browser supports JSX or it supports JS? Can you tell me, anybody here? What does it support?
JS.
It supports JavaScript, JS, not JSX. So you write JSX, you write SCSS or SASS. Bundler will take all of these as an input, and at the end, it is going to give you this as an output. Perfect. This is what Webpack is going to do for me. And by doing this, what it is trying to do is, think about it. It is going to solve most of the problem that we were talking about. So now you must be thinking what it is going to do right now. So I'll just show you the Webpack in action, and then we'll talk about how it is going to fix the problem. So let's start with the basic one, how we are going to solve the module problem. So for that, I'm just going to add two packages. Here I'm using Yarn, but if you're using NPM and Yarn is very similar. In my system, it is Yarn, so I'm using it, but you can just say npm install. It is equivalent to saying yarn add. So I'm just going to add two packages here, that is Webpack. So Webpack is a package. There is another package called Webpack CLI. So I'm going to add these two packages. There's one important thing is like you can also pass a extra flag called -d. What does it mean is, so right now, when you don't pass this -d flag, it will go into dependency. But let's just see what happens when I press enter now. So these two packages like Webpack and Webpack CLI will be added, but will it be added inside dependency or will it be added somewhere else? That is what we are going to see. So -D stands for dev dependencies. Can you see the difference here? Dev dependencies are dependencies that is only required when you're developing the application. So Webpack is only used when you're developing the application. So you write these things using Webpack. This is what gets created. And at the end, you put this into the server. You don't put this into the server. You put only this into the server. So Webpack is taking all the input that you're writing, and it is giving something that you need to give to the browser. So that is what it is. So dev dependencies are dependencies that is only required for your development process, not for the production process. So production is this is development. Understood? Now,
Yeah.
let us go ahead and try to see if it is able to work or not. So first thing, what we are going to do, we are going to create bundles. So obviously we are going to use this. So here I'm just going to create a script called start. And whenever I call start, you just need to call Webpack. So what Webpack is going to do for me, think about it. What is a bundler? Bundler takes all the different kind of assets like JS, CJS, SCSS, SASS, JPEG, PNG, and it converts into something that browser supports, something like CSS, JS, JPEG, PNG, etc. So right now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a special command Webpack, and let's see what it is going to do for us, okay? So now to run this script command, all you need to do is what? You need to say npm. So generally, like whenever you need to run any script from using npm, you just have to say npm run start. This is how you generally do it. But start is a special key. Only start is the special key. That's why start and test, I think, is two special key that is in npm. So whenever you write start, you don't have to run start, but generally this is how you do it. So if it is anything else like dev or something, you do it like this. So let's see what happens. I'm saying npm run start. What it is running. Can you see what it is running right now? Which command did it run?
Webpack.
Webpack. So it's saying, hey, Webpack, come here, help me. So Webpack is like, okay, I'm going to help you. How I'm going to help you is I'm going to take this main.js file from somewhere, and I'm just going to take it from src.index. But how it got to know that I have to take src.index? So this is a default file name. So whenever you run Webpack, it directly goes inside src and looks for index.js. And that's why you look at it and you see, oh, this is what is happening here. So it is taking index.js file, but can you see it is also taking the load-as file from here. So it is taking all these two files similar to taking this JavaScript, bundle it together. And at the end, it is giving you something in the output. So if you look at, it has created a new folder called dist. Let's see what it has done in dist. See, in dist, it has created a JS file. How many of you can understand this code? Hard to, right? But Webpack has created this for you. Let's see if it is of any use to us. So what I'm going to do, rather than me trying to link this index.js that needs a module, I'm just going to use main.js because Webpack is doing this. It is taking multiple JS file, combining it all together and giving me one JavaScript file. What if rather than using load-as at one place, maybe date.fns at other place, maybe other files like index.js at another, app.js at another, I'll just use one JS. So rather than doing this JS file like this, what if I link going into dist? So I'll go into dist, so dist and main.js. Now, all I'm trying to do is to go refresh this page. What do you see here? Did you solve the problem of module or not?
Yes, sir.
So if I link, say for example, rather than linking this, the bundled file, what if I link src and index.js? Like, say, let's just comment this out and see the difference. This is what it was. And as soon as we started using the module one created by Webpack, the problem got solved. In the browser only, we were able to do this. So I used few minutes back, you were asking me a question about what happens when you say npm run build. So npm
Yes.
run build creates this for you. When you say
Okay.
npm start, it doesn't do it like creating this. It just does it on the fly and creates that for you. There's a difference between it. So npm run build in React, it creates the build file, the final file for putting into the production. That is a difference. That is what we did it right here, right? Like that is exactly what we did here.
Yes, sir.
In anybody who is having any question here? All good. Everybody understood what is going on till now?
Yes.
Your yes,
Yes.
would mean a lot to me. So just
Yes.
please, everybody, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So all good. So now we understood the use case of Webpack. Perfect. Like we are able to use the packages here and everything is working properly. But as soon as you come down, you start looking at different things. So now what you can do actually, because you're using Webpack, you can have multiple files. I can just have a file called main.js, and this main.js will have a variable like let username is going to be I use, and I want to export it. So I'll be like, okay, let's just export it. What if I want to use it into index.js? So I'll be like import username from where? From main.js. So I imported it from main.js and also say console.log username. And again, what I have to do, I will have to create the bundle. So I'll say npm run start. It will go ahead, take all the files from here, update our main.js. And as soon as we refresh this file here, we see our IUs. Important thing is this IUs is not coming from same file. It is coming from main. But now if you look at like what it is saying that earlier, if you look at this thing, it was saying something like it is taking src.index file that is 104 bytes. But now if you come here, you will see that it is saying index.js plus one, and that is 193 bytes. So what is that plus one? That plus one is main.js. And at the end, it is creating your main.js file. So can you see now that you can use, rather than just using one file, you can use million files at the same time, and you can import one inside each other. That's all you need to do. It will create a bundle, and at the end, it will give you a file called main.js file. All good? Okay. So in this way, we understood the use case of Webpack. But the thing is, like right now, it is very predefined, right? Like it is just saying that, okay, every time I run Webpack, it will go ahead, look at the index file. But what if my index file is something else? Maybe it is app.js or something. What if I change the name from index to app? Will it work? Let's see. So I'm just going to call it app.js and going to start run this npm run start again. It is throwing an error. It is saying, I am not able to find anything here. So it is not able to find the error, like what they needs to, can't resolve src and src inside, like there's nothing inside it. If for index it was working, but it is app, it is not working. That is where the next thing comes in play, is like you can write your basic configuration for Webpack. So you can be like webpack.config.js. So you can create a file called webpack.config.js, and this is going to be your configuration file that is going to retain or have all the information about Webpack. So let's see how it works. So you just need to go into documentation, and here you will have some different concepts. So there are different concepts for Webpack, and the concept mostly is just entry, output, loaders, plugin, and mode. These are the only things you need to take care of. So now let's start with entry. What does it mean? So rather than you relying on the default thing, just like tell Webpack which file do you want to render first. Okay. So here, all I can do is I can just give the file name, which file I'm going for. So from here, I need to go into SRC and I need to go for app.js file. Does it make sense what we are doing here? So rather than we depending on the default feature, we are just saying, okay, start with app.js that is inside SRC. What will happen if we run this code now? Let's see. Is it throwing error? No, it is not throwing error. We fixed the error. Perfect. All good.
Yes, sir.
But there is one more problem. Like say here, like we have a folder called dist. What if I don't want dist? What if I want a folder called bundle or build? Or what if I don't want the file name main.js? I want something else. So again, you can configure the output. This is where you need output. So I'm going to add a new thing here called output. For that, we are just going to use the path module that comes from Node. So it will give us path module, and I'm just going to create a folder called build. And here the file name is going to be bundle.js. That is what I'm saying. So go ahead, create a folder name build and put the file, and the name of the file should be build.js. So let's see, run this again. And here we have a dist folder. Along with that, we also have a build folder. So do we need dist anymore? No. So let's go ahead, delete it, update our index.js file, and it will go into what? Build. And here it will have bundle.js. Now, if you just go ahead, refresh this file, you'll see the same stuff because nothing changed. Everything is working properly. So these are the things that you can set up in this whole webpack.config.module, like webpack.config.js file. Here you can see there is one red thing that is always going on. That is like the mode option has not been set. Webpack will fall back to production. Is it production right now? No. So let's go ahead and change the mode to development. So here I changed the mode to development. Let's see if we are going to throw that, like remove that error or not. So we are running it. There is no error. So what it is saying, I'm starting with app.js. It is going into main.js. I'm taking the load as, creating a bundle of it and putting it into bundle.js. And at last, I'm using that bundle.js inside the HTML file. And this is all we need. So whenever you want to create the final file, all you need is this index.html and this build bundle.js. So this is your production bundle. Actually, you're writing a code like this, but you're shipping your code like this. This is what Webpack does for you. Make sense? Understood? Understood the use case?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, but it is good till now. Okay, we are able to start using multiple files. We were able to use the external packages. Now is the time when we start, I think, like remixing it or just making it much more useful. And that is like, what if I want to start using SCSS? So for example, you want to have a style folder here. So I can just have a style folder. In my style folder, the simplest thing is like I can create a style.css, and here you can just be like have body and just say background color is going to be, I don't know, like antique white. Okay, that is what we are putting it on. How can I use it? It's very simple. You can just go into here and just say link the CSS, and the CSS is coming from /style/style.css. Perfect. Now what happens when you refresh it? You have the background. Any problem now? So CSS is working because we are not processing CSS at any time. Like we are not doing anything. But let's see what happens when we start using SCSS. Body is working, and like the first is, will this extension work directly like this or not? If we just do it like SCSS, will it work? No, it is not working. So how can I make it work? Anybody who can just suggest me on something here? How can I make it work?
Use what SAS.
Use what?
Watch the extension of VS Code. Watch SAS.
Yeah, you will have to use something that will watch this whole stuff, and it will keep updating you or changing the SCSS. Right? That is what you need to do, right?
Yes.
Okay. but like I'm using Webpack. Why do I need to like, so can you imagine what we are doing now? So say for example, Webpack is bundling all of it. Then you see like you need to use VS Code watch thing. You need to use something else. You need to, so it is not coming along all together because it is like everything is all thrown here and there, left and right. That is not organization. Okay. That is where the next thing comes in play. Entry and output is done. That is where loaders comes in play. And we are going to fix our loader. How do we fix our loader? So let's look at SCSS loader Webpack. So let's see how we can load SCSS into our Webpack. So once you look at it, like you can see that you will need multiple packages for this. Okay, so how do you do that? Like obviously you will have to configure your Webpack for this. So inside Webpack, you see there is a new thing called module. So I'm going to add a new concept here, that is module. Let's just move this mode on top so it is a lot more easier to see. So there is a new one called module. Module is like when you are creating the module, it's like going through multiple files. These are the rules that you have to follow. The first rule is whenever you see a file called SCSS, I want you to use different loaders in terms of, rather than loading the SCSS file directly, you have to convert this SCSS into CSS and load the style. That is a process that we need to follow. So that is what we need to do also. So let's see how we are going to do it. So here we have use. And whenever you're going to use it, generally like you will need different kind of loaders for this. So let's call it SCSS. What are the loaders that we will need? So here, if you look at it, it is saying that you need to use 3 different loaders. And all these 3 different loaders has different use case. So I'll just explain it to you right away here. So whenever you write anything inside use, it always starts from back. So always starts from Sass, CSS, and this. So you are giving them SCSS file. So it will accept the SCSS file, convert that into CSS. So this is responsible for compiling SCSS into CSS. Once this is compiled, you will get your CSS. So it will translate CSS into common JavaScript or something, and using style tag, it will load it here. So these are the 3 processes it will need to do. So what I'm doing now is like I'm telling using this rules tag or rules object is like whenever you see a SCSS file, you have to do all of these things. So you're like, okay, perfect. I understood it. Now, rather than directly loading it here, I will have to not do that here. I will have to do it into a different way. So I will just import this SCSS file into our app.css or app.js. Why? Because if you look at Webpack, where does it start its work from? Which file?
App.js.
Where we had defined that? We have defined that here, right? This is the entry. So it will go into app.js. It will look at load as. So it will go ahead, load as. You are saying main.js. It is loading main.js. What if similar to this, I just say, go ahead, import. So here we have to go outside and we say style.scss. What if we tell them also go ahead, import SCSS file? In our Webpack, we are saying whenever you see SCSS file, these are the things that you have to do. So let's see if it is working or not. So I'm going to say npm run start. It is throwing some error and it is saying these modules are not defined. You just defined it here, but these modules are not present right now. So I'm just going to say yarn add style loader, CSS loader, and Sass loader. And we'll add a -d because it is dev dependency. So I'm saying style loader, CSS loader, and SASS loader. So once these packages will be installed, it will be able to use these things. And now I can just go ahead and say npm run start. And even now it is throwing the error. It is saying boilerplate 2 errors. saying post CSS received undefined instead of CSS string. I don't know. Let's see. Just give me a second. I'll just see if I'm writing something. Why it is trying it. Can't find module SASS. Okay. Let's look at package.json SASS loader. Okay, there must be some issue. Okay, I need to install SAS module or what? Let's see. Okay, perfect. So it was like, I do not have a SAS module installed globally. So I'm just installing it here. You can just install it rather than here. You can install it somewhere else. But the thing is, like, they have created the bundle now. Can you see? So earlier it was not supporting SCSS file, but now it is supporting SCSS file. Now, if I refresh it, I am using SCSS file. So generally what happens is, these are the things that we needed. We are not compromising on it. We are not compromising of not using SCSS because it is complicated, not using optimizing my images because it has to do a work, not using external packages or something like that. We are just doing it using our Webpack. So here we are defining the style here using Webpack. We are able to import this here and just install it right now. And now everything is working for us. So everybody understood what is happening here. We are able to using Webpack. We are able to just use third-party packages. We are able to use SCSS file, and we are also able to use multiple file at the same time. At the end, we are also able to create the bundle, and the bundle is behaving in, and the bundle is optimized right now. So that is what is the job of Webpack is. Any question right now? Anybody is having any question or something? Please go ahead. All good?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you guys are not asking any questions. It feels like you're understanding everything or you're not understanding anything. What is happening here? Or it is pretty simple, right?
Till now, everything is clear.
Okay, okay then. So now I'll go ahead and just try to do the next thing, like maybe adding something known as React here. And that is when we will make it like a pure, like a React bundler or something like that. So right now, if you look at in our JavaScript file, in our HTML file, we are bundling this file. But what if I start using React? So simple way to go about it, like, okay, before React, let us try to create a server, okay? So every time we are changing anything in app or main or SCSS file, we have to recreate this bundle again and again. So that is where our next package is going to help us. And that package is known as Webpack Dev Server. So what Webpack Dev Server does for us is like it will create, rather than you have to create the whole, do the whole process again and again, like creating the bundle, linking it and opening the file, refreshing it again and again, you'd rather use Webpack Dev Server that will create a server and re-render the whole thing by itself. So let's just look into it. Webpack Dev Server. So if you go into Webpack Dev Server, all you have to do is to do basic configuration and it will start working. So here you just have to pass a thing called Dev Server, and this is going to have this basic stuff. So I'm just going to put it into Webpack. So these are modules, and after modules, I'm just going to say Dev Server. Content base is going to be dir. The content is where it is inside build folder, right? So I'm going to say build, the port should be 9,000. But wherever you are having build, you also need to have your index.html file. So for now, I'm just going to move my index.html inside here. So I don't have to like think about it. Like, so here you just need like bundle.js and let's see if it is working or not. So here, rather than just saying Webpack in our script, we'll just say Webpack serve. So we added some configuration in Webpack, that is dev server. The content base is coming from build folder. Compress, if you want to, you don't have to pass it, like it's just an optional thing. You just have to tell them what is the port you need to run it on. So we have inside our build folder, it will go ahead and run the server from here. We have an index.html. This index.html takes bundle.js, and this bundle.js is being generated by using app.js, main.js, and style.css. So now what I'm going to do, we are just going to say npm start. You press enter, and it is going to run a server. Now what happens is it is running a server on 9,000. I'll open it right here. We have a background antique white. What if I just change it to something else? So let's call it tomato. Save it, come back here. I don't even have to refresh and everything is working properly. Similarly, I can open console here, and rather than just saying console log name is Ayush, let's call it Onkar. Save it, go back to this thing, and here it is logging the message Onkar. So now our development process looks much more optimized, because this is how you work in Create React app, right? Like say you change something, you go back to your UI and you see the change there. You don't have to always create the build again and again and again. So that is what is wrong here. So now we have taken care of this. So I'll keep this server running here, and I'll go on to start using React, because we are going to write our app in React. So how do we do that? So first thing is we need to add the package React and React DOM. Now let's just try to use a component here. So whatever you have, that's good enough, no problem. And all we need to do is to return from here. So I'm just going to have a function called app is a component, and that we are going to just say app is a component, and I'm just going to return from here is a h1 hello world, hello React. Okay, and if you want to use something from outside like a username, let's just say $, just say username. Okay, so I'm just saying it like this, and from here what I can do is I need to render this on the HTML page, right? That is how I need to do it. And whenever you need to render it, you have to pass it like, where do you want to render this whole thing? So it's going to have div of root, id root, and here we need to select those things. So you will also need React here. So let us call React. So I'll be like import React from React. Along with that, I also need to import React DOM from React DOM. Okay, so now we have app. We need to render it. So we'll be like, okay, React DOM dot render. We need to render what? Which component? So we need to render app component where? So we'll be like document dot get element by ID. And what is the ID we are looking for? We are looking for root. So this is how you write React. But do you think it is going to work for you? Let's see. So here we want to do this. And here the first thing it is saying is I'm not able to understand return here. So here the first problem it is saying that module pass failed and it is unexpected token. The first problem it is saying is you may need an appropriate loader to handle this file. So can anybody tell me why it is not able to load this file? Anybody who can tell me here? What is the problem it is having? Is it not JavaScript or what is the problem here?
This is JSX. That's all.
This is JSX, and which is one tool that helps you like convert this JSX into React or something, JavaScript? What is that tool?
Babel.
It's Babel. Babel is going to convert that for us. And that is what we need. So here we have our docs. Let's go ahead, look at how to use it in React. So here you can see we have preset React. You have preset, multiple presets you have. So say, for example, whenever you need to use Babel, so Babel in Webpack. So let's see if how we need to make it work. So there's something known as Babel loader. That is what we need. So I'm going to install all these packages here. I'll tell you what all these packages are. So here, if you come back, I'm just going to install these all. So I'm just going to be like, paste it. And the thing that we're installing right now is Babel loader, similar to Sass, CSS, and style loader. This is this is what is going to help Webpack load this Babel code. Then you have Babel core. Babel core is responsible for the core feature of the Babel, that is transpiling one code into another form of code. Then you have Babel preset env. So preset env is taking care of browser compatibility issue. So you remember when we were talking about it, one of the problems that we were facing was browser compatibility issue. So when you're using this package that is preset env, using this, you will be able to use all the latest JavaScript feature or CSS feature right here. So you just need to use Babel preset env, that is converting all your latest code into an older compatible code, okay? So along with that, you also need to add, so we'll say npm install -d, we'll also say Babel. We also need to install the next package that is for Babel preset React, because you also need to use React file, right? So that is what we need to use it. So let's see how we are going to use it. So you just have to use it as an extension. So I'm going to also use React. So I'm just going to say Babel preset React. Now the next thing is, how do you tell Babel, or how do you configure Babel? So again, the same story, like how you're going to configure Babel is using the rules. So you remember how we configured SCSS. Similarly, we are going to configure the Babel. So Webpack is so here we have Babel now. So we'll go to this part and we'll start adding our next rule. So this is our rule number 1. This is our rule number 2. So we'll just delete this extra thing here. And this rule says that you have to test for a file starting with JS, or it can have an extra JSX or something. You have to exclude node modules. And what you have to use Babel loader to do that. And in the preset, you have to use Babel preset env. But because you're using React, you also have to pass Babel preset React. So here I'm going to say along with Webel preset env, I'm going to use Webel preset react. Everybody understood why we are adding this rule?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's see if it is working or not. So I'm just going to break this server and restart it. So it is again throwing the error. What is the error? Command not found. Boilerplate. Webpack command not found. Just a second. It will just take a couple of seconds to install it. If you have any issue or any question here, please tell me. Otherwise, it will take 2 minutes to load this. Okay, now let's say. Okay, it is running the server. Okay, it is again throwing error. It is saying error in style.css. What is that? Okay, sorry. I'm using rules 2 times. It should just be one rules, and inside that you can have multiple rules. So rather than doing it there, I just have to add it here. So these are the rules. The first rule is this, and this is the second rule. So I'm adding a rule for SCSS file. I'm adding a rule for JavaScript file. So now it should work, I think. Yeah, it is running. So let's go back here, refresh it. It is throwing any error. No, here there is no error. Okay, sorry, local host 9000. So if you go on to this, and here you go, you have your React app built or configured by you in this way. So this is the basic boilerplate that we have created here. And this is just the basic one. In future, you can start adding new things or something. Whenever you need something new, you keep adding new things on top of it. So this is what it actually does. So now what we did is we were able to not only write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. On top of that, you can use any kind of like third-party libraries, React, maybe TypeScript, SCSS, PNG images, all of this together by using Webpack. And we used Babel to compile our latest feature or latest feature in JavaScript. We can directly write it right here. So that is what we are able to do. So anybody here who is having any question, any doubt, anything here?
Sir, create React app do the same thing, like it will do the bundling and all.
Create React app does like so when you say npm create React app, so actually like, so for example, what if I just like do it for you here? Say for example, just go back and say React app and create a sample here. So can you see what it is doing? It is just going to create the same structure that they have there, and they're doing it right for you. But generally what they do, they add a lot of extra features on top of this. And that's why it is a lot more heavy. If you look at the size of this boilerplate here, it will be less than the one that we generally see. So for example, if I look at your desktop, and I think I look at the other things like the size of it, you'll see that the size of boilerplate is very small, like 49 MB. Have you seen your thing to be 49 MB? You have not. Like that's what I'm saying. So here, like the difference is this. So this one is not having that many new features or new things added already. And because of that, it does that. But if you just want to look at sample, you will see that it has a very similar thing. So look at this. It has a very similar thing. It's just that it is much more organized and everything. And everything is living inside this special thing. Like, so look at our packages. We have React, React DOM. They have a special thing called React script. And there has a feature called React script eject. What if I just want to say yarn eject or npm run eject? So what is eject going to do for you is it is going to eject all the configuration file for you. Can you see what happened to the node JSON file? Can you see here? Was it this long earlier?
No, sir.
They have added all these features. Which one is it? Babel core. Did we add Babel core or not?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
When we were learning about it, like, did we add Babel loader?
Yes.
Similarly, like, did we do anything like, say, so many other things like React, React DOM, SCSS loader, SASS loader? Do we have it? Web vitals, like so many things, like all the things that we did it here, they do it, but they hide it for you. So you don't have to do it like, but now if you look at here, you will see they have a webpack config file. Do you see? They have a webpack config file or not, but it was hidden from you. So you don't have to care about it. But now because you have learned about it, you can just do this basic stuff here. So I have started writing my app here. Like, there is one problem that can happen. What if I just convert it into a class component and say something like, and here I can just be like, render this thing. Perfect. Any problem?
Yeah.
What if I want to define a state? Like, can you define state like this or not?
No, sir.
You can define it. Why?
Like,
Let me tell you. Let me tell you why you can do that. So one thing about classes that you need to understand is like class properties JS. Okay. So what it is like, it is a new feature that has been proposed in JavaScript. Okay. So it's a proposal, TC39 proposal. That is a new feature that needs to be added into class properties. What it means is, right now, when we create classes, this is how our classes look like. Inside class, we can only have methods like constructor. It can have method like render. It can have, but the important thing is, inside a class, you cannot have a property. You can only have methods. Everybody understands this part? It's a rule, means that's how classes work in JavaScript. So here, if you look at it, like when we make something like constructor and we make a render, this is how it looks like. So right now, if you look at it, you can just be like call super. And here we can just be like this dot state is going to be, and you have count is going to be 0. And I can just use count here. So I'll be like this dot state dot count. If you go back to your UI on localhost, you can see the value count 0. If you want to change it to 100, you can see 100 here. All good. It is working. There is no problem at all. Now, the thing is, like, if you look at this, if this class is only having properties like this, you cannot have a method. That's the point of it. But what if I want that? So this is a proposal developed, and this proposal says that inside class, we can also add properties. Like we can just say X is equal to this. And that is what I was saying is, like, using this proposal, I can just be like state. It is saying X is equal to 0. I'm saying state is equal to an object. But how can I use this feature? What happens if I start using this feature like this? I comment this out, and inside state, what if I just say state is going to be 100? Is it going to work? Let's see. So I'll just go ahead and look at this thing and see if it is working or not. So I think it is a feature that has already been added here. Means like it is working, because in Babel preset React, it is already being added. So Babel preset React has added it. So you can just see, but if you're not having Babel preset env or something, it will not work. And that is the only reason you can have something like handle click. So handle click is not a function, you know, right? Like when you make an arrow function, it is not a function here. It is a property or a variable which has a value of arrow function. This one is very different than this function, right? This is a property, but this is a method. There is a difference. This is a property that has a value of function, and this is actually a method. And that is the reason you can have an arrow function inside this. If this proposal was not there, it would have not worked. Similarly, like if you come to this part, you'll see that it has so many plugins it has. So if you look at it, it has many different plugins. Like let's look at all. Yeah, look at this. So they have so many plugins here. You can install any kind of plugins from here, and wherever you want to install it. So for example, look at plugins. So it has a lot of plugins, like for different things, different new features or something like that. So if you want to see the number of plugins, you can see that how many plugins they have. So here, if I click on plugins, it will click on add plugins. And these are all the plugins that somebody has created for some purposes. Say, for example, you want to use the latest feature of await, the top level await. There's something known as top level await. Use at top level. So generally, when you use await, you need to use it inside a async function, but like you can use top level await also. But how can you do that? So maybe I can just use a plugin or a proposal of top level await. So you can just see that here. And here you can just say top level await. Can you see this? So plugin syntax top level await. So if you start using this plugin in your packages, you can start using this new feature right away. You don't have to wait for JavaScript to get activated or something. You can use Babel plugins to start using even latest feature that is not being shipped yet. You understood?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, so that is what it is. So generally, like one of the problem that we have faced here is we can see that like we are adding all the preset and everything right here. We don't have to put the presets here. Generally, other way to put this is you can just put it into Babel RC file. So let's look at Babel RC file. If you want to take a look at the structure of it, this is how it should look like. You can just create a file called .babel RC. And inside that, you just need to define some basic things that we have defined earlier, something like this. So in Webpack, we write options like here. You remember, like this is how we have written options here. You don't have to do that. You can just create a file called Babel RC. They will show you an option here. Config option. Yeah, so you can just have a Babel RC file like this and you can put it there directly, like something like this. So here we have the configuration like this here. I can delete this from here. I don't need to, like, because it is getting a lot more bigger. What if I just put all my Babel configuration here? So Babel RC, and here I can just put it like an object, and here I'll put it like this. And now if you just break it and start again, it should work the same way as it was working earlier. There is not be any difference because it is just now every plugin or anything that you add here, it will be added here. So for example, you need to add any plugin. So which plugin we want to use? So we need to use Babel top level await. So for example, we want to use this. So what I can do, I can just go ahead and add this property here. So what if I just say await a promise like this here directly on the top? I don't have to put it inside. I can just a second. I just want to put it on top. So I can be like console.log, and I can just say await new promise, and it is just going to have a resolve function, and it is just going to resolve with hello Babel. So for example, I'm awaiting it right here. Generally, you need to put await inside a async function, but I'm using top level await. You can see it is not able to understand it. Can you see? It is saying, I don't know what is top level await, experiment is not enabled here. Can you see? It is saying that. What if I want to make it work? So I have to install this plugin here. So I'll go ahead, install this plugin. We'll say npm install this here like this. And then you just need to add it into a plugin configuration. So you need to go into your Babel RC and put it like this. So I'm using this plugin. Now all I need to do is to break it and start again. Now if you come back to your UI, things should be working. What it is saying, top level experiment is not enabled. Plugin syntax. Just a second. It's plugin syntax or plugin proposal, what it is. Okay, why it is not working? Let's see. I think there must be some problem. So let's see, like I'll look at this issue and I'll get it fixed, but like let's leave it for now. So we can just like go for questions and everything, and I'll see if I can fix this issue. There must be some normal issue here and there. It's not a huge problem. Okay, as soon as I close this, it started working. Okay, so don't worry. Like the only thing I wanted to show here is like you can use different plugins from here to make yourself like things work for it. Like, so that's all you need to do. So here you can see that this plugin is included in Babel preset env. Can you see it is saying that all you have to do is to just in Webpack experiment, you just have to do something like experimental top level await. I don't know how do you like, there must be a like way to configure it. Like if you want to see that in action, you can just go into docs and look at Babel preset env. They have an option field here. So can you see like here they have Babel preset env. Here you can have different things here. So rather than doing it that way, you can just go into Babel RC. I don't need any plugin. And here, I think you will have to change the name and everything. So you need to do it like preset env. We are sending in array. Okay, no problem. You take a look at it, like read the documentation and you will understand how to do these things. Okay, so you just have to pass it as some extra properties or something. Like, so look at this. Here it is array. Inside that it is also passing an extra array, and that is what it is doing. Okay, so here we just need to wrap this into another array and then pass extra properties saying like you have to enable the top level await. So it will start working because we saw that top level await is already included in Babel preset env. So that is what I'm saying. So here, like you can configure your Babel in a much different way, and that will just have all the latest feature from TC39, whatever it is, like whatever proposal it has, some proposal that maybe you like it and you want to use it. Just look for a good, I think rather than just going here and there, look for a like a plugin that somebody has created and just try using it. So that is what we needed to do in this session to understand how do you create the basic, start from the beginning and start using Webpack and Babel or something. So this is how you create it. There's only one thing left, is how do you go on to create a production build and to understand the difference between a development and production build. But before that, if you have any question, feel free to ask. Anything? Hello.
No.
Okay. No, then like let's move on to last thing and then we'll wrap up this class. Okay. So here, now the next thing is like looking at the difference between production build and development build. So if you look at your Webpack thing here, and you look at your bundle.js file, you see that your files has a lot of white spaces and everything is here, right? Like this. What if like in your Webpack, you go ahead and change like from development to production and see what is the difference that happens here. So right now I'm changing the file name. Why? Because like just for you to understand the difference between them. So I'm just calling it production right now, and I'm going to call npm start. It is going to create a new file here similar to bundle.js, but the name of that file will be, okay, sorry. So now we need to create a file. So we will have a very similar thing like this. And here we will name the command to be build. And here we will not run a serve because serve will run a server. I don't need a server. So I'll say npm run build. So once npm run build will run, it will run Webpack, and Webpack is going to look at this Webpack file right now. The Webpack file is in the mode of production, and the file name I need is production.js. So now we have production.js. Here we have bundle.js. The bundle.js was in development mode. Let us try to understand the difference between them. Even if you want to take a look at the size of them, you will understand some differences there. So here, the bundle is of 586 KB. The production is 135 KB. Can you understand the difference in size here? This one is 1/4 the size of this one. Why? Because in development build, they don't optimize everything. But in production build, they optimize everything and make it smaller. Even if you look at the thing here, you will see they will not be having any extra white spaces or anything. So because every extra white space takes extra space or something. So you don't need to have that. Like, but if you look at the development, we will see so many comments and space and everything is here. So that is the difference between bundle that is in development and bundle that is in production. So whenever you change the mode from here, from development to bundle, development to production, it will create a production build, but if it is in development, it will create a development build. So development build has larger size than the production build. That is the difference. So whenever you're shipping your project or making your project live, you should be using production build to make it live. So these are the only things you needed to understand from here. And like in this way, like we have completed this this session about like understanding how these things work. If you like need to see this repo later, like just for your reference, I'll create a repo here. Means let's create it on Alt Campus itself. And I'll call it React boilerplate. Let's call it React Webpack. I'll call it React boilerplate. So I'll create the repo and I'll push the code into that. So whenever you want to take a look at it anyway, just do that, okay? Okay, anything else, guys? So go ahead, practice once more, like creating a very similar thing that will help you a lot. Yeah, go ahead, Ayush, sorry.
I was asking like when we use Netlify app, I read the documentation. He said if you are using Create React app, you should use npm start build. But as you are saying that production type is like more convenient and like enhanced.
So when you use Create React app, these are the things that happens. Look at in the Create React app. So in Create React app, you have multiple different commands here. So if you look at the different commands, it has start, build, and test. So start is the development build similar to the one that we have created here. So start is saying Webpack serve. So Webpack, so generally people have two Webpack configuration file. So one Webpack for development and one Webpack for production. So whenever you are saying npm start, it is development configuration, but when it is saying npm build, it is the production configuration. So here, if you look at it, start and build. So if you go into this file right now, say for example, it is saying node script start.js. So let's go into node script start.js. This is a configuration. And so if you look at it, what is the configuration here? Load factory is what? Development.
Okay, so basically
And
they
here
have
it is
development under build.
and here it is production. So that is the difference there.
Yes.
So when you say build, it will build the production file. And when you say start, it will just say the development thing.
Okay, yeah, that's clear.
Okay. All good?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
guys.
sir.
So just go ahead, recreate a similar thing by understanding the different things that you need while creating this whole stuff. And then once you create this whole stuff, you can just put it live like the way you want to, like using Netlify or whatever you want to. So that is like, so this is like basic, creating the basic structure here. And then like, I'll go ahead here and create dot ignore. It will have node. Node modules. We also have build. So what I've done here is like I've pushed the whole thing into this repo. Okay, so this repo is created. What I'll do, I'll just take this into a new next process also. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to tell you how to deploy this application. So generally, like whenever you're working on this application, you can just like deploy it in the way that you want. This is a custom one. We can also deploy it. That's not a problem. You can just run the special command, whatever you want to do. Right now it is in development mode. If you want to change it, you can change it into production mode. But whenever you want to deploy any of this app, you should just use something like Netlify is one of the option. You also have Vercel, that is another option. So out of these two, you can use any of it. Like, and I think it is very self-explanatory of how to use it. Just go ahead, log in on this website, and you just have to import a file, look at the command. So whenever you're looking at the command, you should always put the command that is like actually you're going to deploy it. Like, so it should be npm build, npm run build, that will build the command, the folder and everything. You have to do it. So if I'll just walk you through one of the things, for example, the cart application, and here I'll just say, let's just look at the deploy setting here. So let me just see. So if you look at deploy, setting, this is what you need to understand here. So it is saying what is the base directory. So base directory is the folder. Like, say for example, what are the public directory? It means that here, when we were working on it, build is our public directory, which has an index.html file and also have some index.js file and everything. So this is the file that you need to do. Similarly, like which command you need to run to create this folder. So this is the command you need to run this to create this folder, and you just have to save it and deploy it. That's how simple it is. And every time in the future you're going to push any commit to it, it is going to redeploy the whole thing by itself. So this is the end of this whole class, like of understanding the different deployment and Webpack, Babel, what are the use cases of these things. So like go ahead, try to recreate this thing and see, like if for reference, you can just take a look at our React boilerplate that is present at All Campus repo. You can just have a look at it. All good, guys? Okay, then take care. I'll talk to you again. Okay.